Good day everyone. We are the first group and we will discuss about introduction of the information management. Here are the topics that we are going to discuss. First, information, development and global change. Second, strategic approaches to information management. Third, management issues. Fourth, information architecture. Fifth, information and communication technology. And lastly, you are in the business of information. Information, development, and global change. This chapter surveys some global trends which are giving impetus to the growing emphasis placed on information and knowledge, and the impact of these trends on development work. These are the subtopics. First, what is information society? Second, information, culture, and power. Third, impact in development. Fourth, the development industry and NGOs. Fifth, ICT and development, the wider picture. And lastly, to thrive in a changing world. First, let us know what really information society is. Information society is a broad term used to describe the social, economic, technological, and cultural changes associated with the rapid development and widespread use of information and communication technologies or ICTs in modern nation societies, especially since World War II. In short, it is the use of information where the people know and appreciate what information they need, where to get, how to get the information, and lastly, how to use it. Information, culture, and power attempts to analyze social and cultural properties of information flows and some of the ways in which information influences power relationships. One of the objectives of these issues is to examine traits of the flow of information of the social and cultural and other ways that influences the power. These issues are discussed in relation to behavior, production, and access and values. Impact in development. The development industry is not isolated from the world in which it operates. Poverty and the funds available to combat it are directly linked to changes in local and global societies and economies. This means that through this concept, implementations of certain projects for development are easier to organize and it leads them into unmanageable and organized work. After all, challenges occur in our society and development happens. These changes can and should lead to a re-examination of what development means. The implications of this affect how development organizations work, the priorities of funders, the modes of delivery, and the ways in which development work is managed and organized. The development industry and NGOs considers the general impact of wider global changes on developmental organizations. The development industry involves international organizations, government departments, and social movements that are all working to fight against the global challenges. Like all big businesses, the development industry not only responds to global demand because we also have NGOs that contribute for development that function as catalysts to improve action and promote change. ICT and development, the wider picture. Young people today live in a world characterized by dramatic cultural, economic, social, and educational differences. Individual circumstances depend largely on where a person is born and raised. More than 800 million adults Two-thirds of them are women, still who are still lack basic literacy skills. At the other end of the spectrum, the use of information and communication technologies or ICTs is skyrocketing. It means like something to increase of the numbers of individuals who are lack of basic literacy skills as mentioned above. There are two major assumptions underlie the role of ICT. The proliferation of these technologies is causing rapid transformations in all areas of life. ICT function to unify and standardize culture. Lastly, to thrive in a changing world. How organizations have developed in innovative ways in response to the changes confronting their constituencies. This means that it challenges certain organizations to develop effective ways on how to resolve such issues that are present in our world. The objectives is to seek for sustainable development that will combat problems affecting our lives. The next topic will be discussed by Ira Kyle.
Strategic approaches to information management. What is meant by information and its management? Information can be described in a number of ways. It may be identified according to the function for which it is collected. Hence, financial information, monitoring information, transport information, and management information. It can be understood as being quantitative or qualitative. Need for management. Creating a resource out of a mass of data, documents, and creating well-constructed information which has meaning from such a resource and using it well do not happen by accident. The process of managing information in a development organization cannot happen independently of the daily actions of everyone involved in its work. It involves everyone in the organization. New networking practices. Development organizations have always used a variety of mechanisms for delivering their work. Large-scale infrastructure projects have existed at the same time as long-term development programs, short-term micro-projects, and emergency interventions. In recent years, and in the context of the wider economic changes, this tendency to flexibility and adaptation has become even more marked. Three needs drive this trend: the need to be able to identify and adapt to change, pressure to achieve more impact with less financial commitment, and greater demands for accountability from more stakeholders. As a result, a number of often interconnected working practices which are believed to contribute to such goals and which were once rare or non-existent have become common. Each of them raises new issues for information management. Some are basically about information. Continuous reorganizations. Reorganizations appear to have been replaced by a process of continuous change in many organizations as they seek the capacity to be able to identify and respond to new threats and opportunities. As a result, offices, sections, and departments open and close. Team and project work. More work is done by teams in order to bring a full mix of skills to complex issues. Important issues arise from the need to keep all members of teams or projects adequately informed of what their colleagues are doing. Staff turnover and location. There is a danger that knowledge and lessons learned by these staff will be lost to the organization when they leave. Staff who use ICT to work from home creates information-related issues. Clearly, the formal exchange of work documents and of official information needs to be well managed. The same points, of course, may apply to the relations between a head office and sub-offices elsewhere. Partnerships and networks. Work is increasingly carried out through partnerships or joint funding initiatives or joint project management initiatives. Significant parts of knowledge gained from activities reside with team members employed by other agencies. Knowledge will not be retained by the organization. Approaches based on attempts to control information. Behavior is managers' habit of keeping information to themselves. This behavior is associated with two common forms of information management, that of completely centralized control and hierarchical control. Centralized control. All staff are working according to the specific instructions about their roles and responsibilities. No external commitments are made without the authorization of the leader. All correspondence is read by the leader, who chooses who is to respond to it. Hierarchical control allows somewhat more information exchange, but only on defined subjects and up to set limits. Staff are given the information that their senior in the hierarchy deems necessary for them to perform their task. The strength of these approaches lies in the certainty and control that they offer managers over what is going on. However, approaches based on control also have weaknesses. They can be inefficient internally, requiring duplication and repetition of work as information gets passed up and down structures. Externally, the controls limit the interaction of an organization with its environment, making it more likely to miss developments that are important to it and slower to respond to those that it does identify. Most fundamentally, the above approaches do not service the needs of organizations which are trying to work in new ways. Approaches based on open access to information. If the organization is to be alert to all the possible influences on its future well-being, then it needs a far wider range of external interaction and information exchange than any small group of managers can expect to control, far less know in detail. The organization will rely on staff to take responsibility for such interactions and for knowing what to communicate to whom as a result of them. Staff can perform that role only if they have access to both hard information and organizational thinking on the issues in which they are involved. Information is therefore not hidden and cannot be used selectively as a route to personal advantage. Three areas which require special attention if any advantages gained by flexible practices are to be sustained. Those of staff needs, organizational learning, and relationship management. Staff needs. These practices depend on the ability of staff who are new to the job or new to the organization to fulfill the task required of them. Organizational learning. Using information produced and received in the course of its work to promote organizational or institutional learning should be a key goal. The use of ICT can greatly expand the volume and type of potentially useful information which can be stored, searched, and easily accessed and reused. Relationship management. If development organizations are in a state of constant change, and part of that change is a rapid increase in less formal communication between their staff, then many opportunities for misunderstanding between them will rise. This can be partly addressed through ensuring that staff understand the limits and protocols of whatever interagency collaboration they are being asked to carry out and the organizational thinking behind it. Constructing a system which people can use is not the same as having one that they will use. Personal practices need to reinforce the demands of information management. They can do so in a number of ways. Job definitions need to be thought through in terms of their information requirements. In an alarming number of cases, this is not done, and the wrong skills are sought for a job. Job descriptions should clearly outline the sort of information that people are expected to need in order to do their jobs. Specific responsibilities for maintaining and distributing information should be defined. Person specifications. People must be able to understand what information is needed in order for them to do their jobs. Be prepared to go and get it from inside or outside the organization without waiting to be told, and be alert to opportunities for sharing it. Assessment. Information aptitude should feature in the assessment of staff progress. Questions such as how well they have performed the operational part of their job. Training. Neither managers or staff can be expected automatically to work in new ways. Changed attitudes and new skills are required. Some of these will be brought in by newly hired staff with new attitudes, but their development will be greatly strengthened by the training and reinduction of existing people. Management choices. Making it work. Understanding what information you want to manage and why is a vital first step, but it is only a beginning. Any appropriate approach to information management must be one which general managers have the capacity to implement, one that they can feel comfortable with. There is no right or wrong answer, simply the best mixing of possible processes to achieve what will work for the organization. Partnership and capacity building. Important choices confront us when thinking through how our internal information management processes could or should overlap with external arrangements. Thinking internal and external information processes can make sense in both operational and knowledge management fields. You need to make sure that if you are suggesting that a beneficiary organization uses a certain piece of software to interact with your organization, you are not imposing some standard on them which will make it harder for them to interact with anyone else. Capacity building means increasing people's options, not reducing them. Thinking strategically. Strategic thinking is essential. The development of a strategic plan based on such thinking is often found to be a useful tool in order to clarify your thinking, to help you explain it to others, and to act as a benchmark for monitoring future progress. Information as a strategic priority. There are growing numbers of strategic opportunities for organizations to use information resources in imaginative new ways to achieve an impact consistent with their reason for existence. All organizations should seek to identify what these are. Information management in support of organizational strategy. Most organizations have some form of strategy consisting of a definition of what they want to achieve and an outline of how they intend to go about doing it. All organizations need to think about what information they need in order to accompany that process, and they need to consider how it should be managed. Strategic implementation of change in information management. Organizational change may be introduced gradually or in one single operation, but in either case, the transition must be planned. ICT strategy. Part of a strategy to implement change in information management may include the use of information and communication technology. In any situation where more than single computer is involved, there should be an information and communication technology strategy as well. The next topic will be discussed by Adrian Thomas.
Good day, everyone. So, the topic I'm going to discuss today is about management issues. So, the management issues is composed of three parts: the personal competencies, management information, and information economics. So, what is management issues? Management issues is any topic needing the company's action, investigation, and/or decision, including but not limited to the company's induction procedure, performance ISS, payment and benefit awards, periods of annual, sick or other leave, absence of the intern, complaints, disciplinary proceedings. So let's proceed to personal competencies. So in personal competencies, there are some topics that we are going to discuss. So the first one is information awareness. The most important steps toward the effective information management is to simply to become aware of an issue. We need to think about what this means in terms of what information, from where, when, at what cost, as and when the activity is planned, rather than afterwards. Next is managing people. Who should decide what information is relevant? In traditional control-based management practices, a manager would expect most relevant information to cross his or her deck and be passed on to whoever was going to deal with it. He or she also expects to decide what information subordinates need and will seek to restrict their access to that information. Informacy skills. It may be described as the basic mix of skills and knowledge needed to be competent in managing information in any jobs. So under the informacy skills, there are some topics we're going to discuss also. First is knowledge of relevant information. It is important to recognize that knowledge is a fluid rather than a fixed element. Knowledge is dynamic and can be out of date. Next, organizing information involves making sure that it is available to whoever needs it at the right time in the right form. Information quality. It means that it must be fit for the purpose for which it will be used. Alertness to meaning. Information has a meaning to its recipient. You can never assume that this meaning will be the one that you intended. Professional support. There are many specialist skills relevant to the management information. It is not necessary to become expert in all of them, but competence in information management does include knowing what they are, how they might be useful to your situation, and how can you draw on them if you need to. Basic office management. Most of the offices have systems for the management of information, circulation list, filling procedures, and etc. Information storage and classification. It is for people to expect to look for the information that they want rather than demanding that it all arrives in their desk. Information and communications technology. ICT has becoming so all-persuasive that managers need to know how it can affect their area of work. Buying in skills. It may be necessary to buy expertise from specialist units or consultants. Next topic is about management information. So management information is everyone needs information, but managers are in charge of choosing priorities. It is perhaps not surprising that much information management has is historically concentrated in information which meets managers' needs. Next is information economics. Information economics work with information finding, gathering, organizing, storing, and distributing it takes time and money. Failing to work with information, not knowing where the records of a project donors is due. Being unaware of significant facts which will affect the success or failure of a project. Moreover, it can be even more expensive. There are a number of factors to take into account. The first one is direct cost. Majority of information activities will involve direct outlay of cash over and above the regular cost of organization. Next, people's time. Most organization, the largest cost of information work is the time that it takes staff to work with it. Next is maintenance costs. It is always useful to think whether the information activity should be one-off event or whether it is something we should be repeated. Support costs. Any estimate of the full cost of person's time needs to include some allowance for the general costs to an organization of having someone in the position to do work. Using scoring systems to aid decision makings. The scoring system offers one solution to this dilemma, widely used by large funding agencies for selecting which projects to fund. They work by scoring a range of proposals against a set of objectives. assumed to be the most appropriate for the type of activity in action. Next is tracking and understanding process. So, in this topic is many development organizations, in particular national development ministries, have in recent years adopted practices based on theory of management science. These practices are believed to offer means for development organizations not only account for the money and support that they receive from others, but explain their use. So that's all for management issues. And the next topic is going to be discussed by Renz Ann Barrigues.
Good day everyone, I am Renz-Ann Barrigues. I am going to go over to the continuation of our topic in Introduction to Information Management, which is I am going to talk about information architecture. My discussion will consist the topic what is information architecture, which it introduces to the concept and explain its main features. What is an information architecture for? Which describes how information architecture can use as a tool for the analysis of current practice or information audit, as practical guide for planning, monitoring, and introduction to ICT. Understanding the information involved, which discusses the various ways of understanding the separate streams of information being handled within the organization. Adapting information architecture considers who should do what and what it looks like. Practical steps in defining information architecture and some thoughts in keeping up to date. What is an information architecture? Information architecture, or IA, focuses on organizing, structuring, and labeling content in an effective and sustainable way. This is a process by which information moves from being part of a single activity to becoming a resource for the organization. Developing an information architecture involves looking at the various aspects of information and then thinking about how they relate to each other. In doing this, some analogy with the features of architecture is seen in the skill of designing and describing buildings may be helpful. It implies a thought-out understanding of the whole. It considers a number of perspectives. It is conscious of scale. It considers relationship between spaces. It links the whole with the external environment. It includes storage space of various types for specified or unspecified uses, for easy or very occasional access. It can be very specific about the use and purpose of some space and yet allow considerable freedom and flexibility in the use of other space. It balances consideration of security with the function of the building and the needs of its users. It can allow for alteration and change of the use. It can involve users throughout the process and provide space in which the users can flourish with no further recourse to the architect. Features of a good information architecture. So what are the features of good information architecture? First, the user-led design. User-led design provides a useful resource for the organization and its people. So, a good information architecture is one which is known about, understood, and used by everyone in the organization. Second, capacity for alteration. As the organization changes along with the environment in which it operates, so will the type and exchanges of information that it needs. Information architecture has to be capable of adaptation and alteration. Third, a thought-out pattern for the whole. Includes thinking about strategic, operational, and monitoring issues. It means seeking to minimize the potential duplication of information gathering and recording to minimize, where productive, the multiple uses of the same information. Which means the architecture must bear the whole in mind. Good architecture should create space in which people can act with considerable freedom. Last, multiple perspective. Organizations likewise have numerous perspectives, as those of us who work in or among them know. They are complex bodies in which many ideas and aspirations exist, either openly or covertly. Practical guide for an information architecture. Once an explicit information architecture exists, individual managers have an overall understanding of how information works across their organization, to which they can relate their own practice. So here are the following. First, planning organizational change. Such process will end with a clear identification of the existing architecture, the design of the desired future architecture, and the definition of a strategy for how to get from the former latter. Planning organizational change can be a planning tool for information management, in that different architectures may be imagined and discussed as part of the process of the thinking through change. Second, planning initiatives or projects. If an organization is considering some major change to or development of its operations, it needs to consider how the information components of such changes will fit in with the information management of the rest of the organization. Third, planning monitoring. It can be seen as a huge and extra burden on people as they try to do their real work. This alienation can be reduced by trying to integrate monitoring into daily work. Fourth, monitoring information management. These should then be checked to see if such flows are taking place. If they are, a supplementary question should seek to find out whether such flows are in fact addressing people's needs. Understanding the information involved in information architecture. The process of mapping out the information architecture presents a good opportunity for such thought. It can be done hurriedly by simply understanding that certain information needs to go from one place to another, but will not ensure that people receive the right information in the ways they want when they want it. Attention must be given to all the variables in generation and use of information. The process of mapping an information architecture can be identified priorities of accuracy, timeliness, format, quantity, etc., and manage the flow of information to deliver what is wanted. There are four essential elements of this process. First, identifying what information is produced or used by whom, why, and where, and deciding how long it should be kept. The first step in managing information is to think about users of information and what they are wanting to achieve. Second, identifying the types of information involved and deciding what needs doing to it. The purpose of classifying information is that to show clearly what information already exists, for what purpose, and its degree of accessibility. Third, defining the quality of the information. It means that the quality of information does not refer to its value, but to question of its accuracy, its timeliness, the appropriateness of its format. Last, defining the responsibilities of the people involved. Good information management comes from the conscious participation of everyone in its use and production. Adapting an information architecture. The task of creating an information architecture varies according to the size and complexity of the organization involved, and especially the way in which it will be used. These factors will influence the choice of person to lead the process. This is essential if it is successfully to enter the working culture of the organization. Smaller organizations or individual departments or sub-offices of larger ones are unlikely to need or be able to afford such an option. The resulting architecture should be plain and simple. Depending on the numbers involved, this may mean involving everyone or creating teams which represents all disciplines and all levels. There are several reasons for this.
It creates a sense of common ownership of the completed architecture. It helps staff to understand that the information they use is a resource. It offers staff a clear vision of their role in the organization. It allows them to question whether existing information flows support that role. It offers the possibility of brainstorming or other participative techniques to develop ideas for improving present practice. It leads to greater accuracy in describing present practice, especially if staff are prepared to discuss informal information flows. It leaves an imprint of what is agreed, because each member of staff knows what information he or she should receive or find, and where the information that they produce goes and why. It enables staff to monitor whether the expected flows work, and it provides a framework in which to discuss modification. Practical steps towards developing your information structure. If you are dealing with an existing organization, it is usually a good idea to start by analyzing existing practice. Existing practice needs to be examined critically. Areas of unnecessary bureaucracy, of duplication, and wastefully high quality may be identified. Common problems include the following: low-level horizontal information exchange. Intelligent comment on the information or data seldom flows up an organization. Ways of communicating qualitative or interpretative information between staff at different levels. Channels of communicating unexpected or unplanned information are often weak. The information needs of external partners are seldom met in a planned and systematic fashion. The cost of providing adequate information are often not identified. Keeping up to date. Using an information architecture means changing it. If these changes are recorded, then the architecture remains up to date. If it is not kept up to date, the information architecture may have to be created all over again. Keeping up to date may be more time-consuming and labor-intensive in a large organization, but at least the necessary resources are likely to be available. It is more likely to be a problem in small organizations where workers have to deal with multiple demands on their time. At the very least, there should be an information architecture file in which notes of any new arrangements are put. In that way, the potential for divergent understandings of what is supposed to happen can be reduced, and the potential for the information architecture to be reused is maintained. That's all for my topic, information architecture. The next topic will be discussed by Crystal Angelique Osaida.
Hello everyone! So today we are now moving on to the new topic. First off, I am Crystal Osaida, your presenter in Information and Communication Technology under Unit 1. Okay, so I, C, and T. If you hear the word ICT, what comes to your mind? Basically, we answer anything related to technologies such as gadgets like phones, laptops, media, and audios, diba? Apparently, we are into technology wherein we also use both information and communication for our daily livings. Every day, ga-improve ang atong technology because majority of the people were already using this kind of thing and it became a trend to our current generation. So here are the list of subtopics under ICT. I myself will be discussing this from information and communication technology until organizational impact. Information and communication technology. The term information and communication technology covers a range of technologies such as computers, communications, audio, and video, which developed separately but which have now converged towards the point where the technologies that support computers, telephones, and televisions are highly interconnected. Again, common naman ni Saturn ang meanings ng ICT. Like, for example, if I ask about what is or what are the importance of ICT. So, basically, may masabat man kita sina even if we don't look thoroughly to our modules or notes, diba? Because we are using and experiencing it right now. We use information, communication, and even technology. And if ever we separate those three terms or pagsasabayin man, it is still the same. Hence, ICT plays a vital role in our daily lives in terms of education, profession, and even in our daily lives as well. Practical uses of ICT. Communication. Their use as communication tools can produce direct benefits to information management. They can make it cheaper, easier, and quicker to communicate with people. Understandable naman ni Saturn guys na with the use of ICT, we are able to communicate and able to make transactions through online, right? Today, we can now shop online and order foods if we feel lazy about going to the physical store or restaurant. Hence, it is a lot more convenient and less hassle as a consumer. Next is legal and management issues. Many issues are settled on a case-by-case basis, with the results often depending on the extent to which the courts perceive electronic communication to be in any significant way different from written communication. Perception change from one case to another. Grabe no, even legal and management issues we are now able to settle it online with the use of technology. Some common issues concerning to legal and management issues are the following. Organizations should have and communicate a clear policy on staff use of the internet. In general, it should be remembered that many people feel frightened enough of using unfamiliar technology as it is without having additional sanctions threatened for wrongful use. Dapat, in every organizations, they should have a precise policy on staff use of the internet. For instance, we should implement a notification that all aspects of employee use of company-owned equipment can be monitored at any time and without notice. For this kind of policy, everyone in the organization are well monitored by their action towards the use of internet. Second, organizations may be held liable for seditious material sent out by their staff via the organization's email system. Staff should be aware of this danger. It may be advisable to insert some disclaimer at the foot of each email. It is unclear whether an exchange of emails can represent a formal contract. Web pages are generally treated as published material, just like a book. The only difference is that it is cheaper and quicker to case publishing a web page than it is to withdraw a book from sale in event of any complaint. It is also easier to restore the web page once the complaint has been resolved. Another practical uses of ICT also consider databases. Databases refers to programs run on computers which store, retrieve, and manipulate data or text. Text storage and retrieval. Most databases, as their name suggests, are designed to store short items of factual information like numbers, dates, names, and addresses, although they can all handle at least some text. This combines the ability to store large numbers of text-based documents with differing capacities to search the whole collection. Document format. Documents can be stored in a number of formats. They may use the format of the word processor or whatever program on which they were produced. These choices have some disadvantages. HTML pages. Many document storage and retrieval systems are now using the HTML or Hypertext Markup Language format, which is the format used for all documents, such as text and otherwise, on the World Wide Web. So, ang hypertext links, pwede man siya magamit as a tool for people trying to collect information. Database link HTML pages. Many organizations have experienced difficulties in maintaining and updating websites which attempt to store large amounts of intricately linked and fast-changing information. It makes easier maintenance and updating and reduces errors. It makes it easier to route one piece of information, such as our weather forecast example, onto multiple web pages or even onto multiple websites. It also makes easier for users to search for information and for site designers to establish indexes so that information which fits under multiple headings can be easily found. However, its disadvantages are that although what is presented looks like a web page, it is in fact a database entry. Its content will not be found by search engines, which only trawl web pages and may find it difficult in saving it in your computer as a web page. Next, we also have information stores, disks, and intranets. Hard disk stores the operating system, applications, and data files such as documents, pictures, and music that your computer uses. As drives refers to an easy-to-use interface to distribute documents, and there are no limitations as to the size of number of files that can be uploaded. Intranets refers to a private network contained within an enterprise that is used to securely share company information and computing resources among employees. Moreover, it is a key tool both for formal communication from management to staff and for multiple permutations of peer-to-peer exchange between departments. Collaborative working. Collaborative working is promoted by collective goals, mutual understanding, informal activity, shared resources, and common vision. Working collaboratively instead of individually helps improve productivity and gives employees a sense of responsibility and purpose in the organization. It also becomes easier to brainstorm ideas to solve an existing problem or deliver the required work on time. Under the collaborative working, we have online and offline meetings. Online meetings, there are programs which allow you to share files or electronic whiteboards while simultaneously talking to someone or to a group of people. This means tanan nga involved is makita ang same particular document and has the facility to make changes, which is makita man sa tanan nga ara sa particular group or an organization. Next, we have offline meetings. The same technology can be used to set up meetings which do not take place in real time but consist of comments about a particular subject being made, read, and added to over a period of time. Unlike online meeting, offline meetings are usually done by settling a time and place where to go meet physically or personally for a certain project or work. This may be appropriate if several people in different time zones are trying to work on something together. Coordination. So, under coordination, we have the following, which is shown in the presentation today. Diaries or organizers. Many internal networks and some mainstream software packages include the programs called organizers, which, as well as giving people a place in which to record addresses and phone numbers, allow for various forms of diary management. This can make it possible to see what time colleagues are free and to set up meetings involving them. Presentation and analysis. It should not be forgotten that the potential of information to make an impact on its audience often depends on how it is presented. Quality in this respect means understanding each audience and knowing what it expects. Dapat balaan man naton ang purpose and goal sa aton presentation, which is to help understand and comprehend a certain topic to the audiences. Even though we are capable man bala nga prepared kita and choice of words were supercalifragilisticexpialidocious kag hindi man maintindihan sa mga audience, therefore wala man siya pampakadtanan nga preparation. Good graphics can convey facts better than text. It is generally easier to understand visuals than to read entire blocks of text. Our brain is hardwired to understand visuals better than text. Because of this, people remember up to 80% of what they see compared to only about 20% of what they read. Online services. The growth of the World Wide Web has seen an explosion of services being provided online. Some are free and majority are not. There is no space here to offer a general description of what is available. However, an outline of what is likely to be relevant specifically to development organizations will be attempted, as a discussion of some of the key issues involved. Now we are on the information development. The World Wide Web was described as resembling a vast but poorly indexed library. It contains a huge amount of information relevant to development practitioners. However, it is often not easy to find what you want or to make resources available in a way which others can use. There are a number of problems. First, there is more information available than simple classification measures such as keywords are able to cope with. Second, plain links with little or no description of what will be found are time-consuming to follow, especially if you are linked to an index page and then need to go through several more steps before finding the document that you thought might be of interest. Third, the web currently contains considerably more academic and policy information about development issues than practical material or locally produced evidence. Fourth, a lot of the information is of poor quality. Therefore, its status may be unclear. Fifth, the information itself may change. Web pages are not necessarily permanent. And the last one, information for the obvious reason that this is easy tends to be made available under the name of the individual agency on separate websites rather than by subject or geographic area. Use of ICT for training. The interactive, multimedia, and communications nature of ICT makes it a potentially powerful medium for study and for the delivery of training. Courses can be made available online for people anywhere in the world to access at their own convenience. Email allows students to respond to tutors and to enter into discussion with fellow students wherever they may be. Accessibility. It is sometimes forgotten by enthusiasts for ICT that billions of people in the world have no access to computers and the internet, access to clean water, adequate nutrition, education, and even healthcare. These are the big issues which constitute the rationale for development organization. Another problem is language. Software and browsers commonly used for reading web pages are now available in most international languages, but the overwhelming majority of material posted on the World Wide Web is in either English or Chinese. Moving on to the specific issues related to access, which development organizations can address more immediately. And these are the following. First, poor connections. Second, special needs. And the last one is payment. Training and support. Training is an essential part of the introduction of ICT. Many learners approach ICT with a conviction that they will not understand it. This represents an immediate obstacle for whoever is trying to teach them because such an expectation risks becoming self-fulfilling. Moreover, it is vital to build learners' confidence and encourage experimentation. Potential disadvantages of ICT. Basic requirements: telephone network, printer, etc. These are some of the equipment that can possibly go wrong and needs repairing. Setting up your work in a way which you're dependent on machine may stop working is a step that should be considered carefully. Costs: money and time spent setting up equipment and software, time spent exploring how to use it, time spent wondering why something is not working and involving colleagues in the discussion, time wasted when work is lost, time and money spent on training. And the last one, breakdown, viruses, and security. Computer viruses can be even more damaging because programs were written by antisocial people specifically for the purpose of damaging other people's computers. Another danger is posed by the ability of some computer users to bypass computer security and gain access to other people's machines while they are connected to the internet. This is most commonly done to track people's use of the internet. But it can also enable unauthorized external access to your files and may be an entry route for programmers which will corrupt or destroy data. Moving on to the organizational impact. The following are the organizational impact, and these are impact on relationships and health and safety. To conclude, we cannot think of modern life without ICT. At the same time, we cannot deny the abuses of ICT. So, we need to be careful to ensure the proper use of information and communication technologies.
You're in the business of information. Business information management. Business information management is the process of accessing, processing, maintaining, evaluating, and disseminating knowledge, facts, or data for the purpose of assisting business decision making. Effectiveness of information management activities. Make sure information is retrievable, accurate, accessible, up-to-date, complete, and usable. Set and follow organization information management practices. Prioritize information management needs according to business needs. Integrate information management throughout the entire organization and assign responsibility for information management or delegate. Application of technology by businesses. What are computer networks? Computer networks are computers linked in a school or business so users can share hardware, software, and data. Artificial intelligence or AI is a software that enables computers to reason, learn, and make decisions. How do expert systems help people? Expert systems are computer programs that help people solve technical problems including medical services, financial planning, and legal matters. Why is computer-aided design used? It is used to create product style and designs. What is involved in e-commerce? E-commerce is conducting business transactions using the internet or other technology. Most common activities of e-commerce: providing product information, promoting a company, selling online, conducting market research, making payments, obtaining parts and supplies, and tracking shipments. 4 basic models for e-commerce: business to business, consumer to business, and consumer to consumer. What is a Management Information System or MIS? MIS is an ordered system for processing and reporting information in an organization. Computer systems and software are an essential part of MIS. Managers use the information provided from MIS to make essential business decisions. Categories of information gathered from MIS. Financial information includes budgets, sales reports, and financial statements. Production inventory information includes production summaries, list of tools and supplies, and finished goods reports. Marketing, sales, and information includes data on customer needs, current economic conditions, and actions of competitors. And the last category is human resources information. Four main components of a management information system are gathering data, analyzing data, storing data, and reporting results.
Gathering data or information. Information can be obtained through point-of-sale systems include scanners, iPads, and computers. Scanning barcodes to track inventory. Surveying customers and employees. Researching competitors. Analyzing data and information. Information and data can be analyzed using spreadsheets, databases, and graphs. These are the tools that you can use: Microsoft Excel and Access, and Payroll. Storing data. Data can be stored in a variety of locations, from hard copy files in a file cabinet to the cloud. Safety and security of information. In case of emergency, tax audits, and etc. Privacy and confidentiality, like hacking and stealing of information. Reporting results. Companies use data from sales, customer surveys, and industry ratings to determine what course of action will be best for the company in the future. They should create more products, increase or decrease prices, merge or buy, and outsource. Applications of technology by businesses. What is involved in robotics activities? It involves mechanical devices programmed to do routine tasks such as those seen on an assembly line in factories. Robots are also used in danger situations where it is not safe for people to go. What happens during telecommuting activities? This involves the activities of a worker using a computer at home to do a job. Telecommuting saves time and money. Less traffic, less pollution, noise reduction. Telecommuting is common for writers, researchers, editors, sales reps, and website designers. Concerns of using technology. Employment trends. Many people feel that their jobs are taken away by the computers. What is actually occurring is a shift in the type of worker that is needed. More workers skilled in programming, operation, or repairing computer systems are needed. Companies have to retain displaced workers. Workers must get additional training so that they can adapt to the changing job environment. Computer crimes. A computer virus is a hidden program code in a system that can do damage to software or store data. How many people have encountered a computer virus? Will some tell how they remove the virus? Okay, next. Piracy. It refers to stealing or illegally copying software, packages, or information. Companies that develop software may lose more than half of their profits to information pirates who violate the law. In some countries, between 1/3 and 1/2 of the software is obtained illegally. White-collar crime is an illegal act carried out by office or professional workers while at work, including stealing money, information, or computer time through improper use of computer systems. Health concerns. While very little danger can come from the use of a computer and other technological devices, there are some issues people are experiencing this: eye strain and vision problems, muscle tension and nerve damage, carpal tunnel syndrome. One of the greatest challenges facing computer users is the need to guarantee privacy. Dishonest people have access to customer records at some companies, and this poses great concern. Companies have changed which employees as well as other people that have access to computer records. Companies are also changing almost of their programs to be password protected. And that's all for the Unit 1. Thank you so much.